Hello and welcome to Red or Black, a Lord Ping series for opinionated players. Each episode we'll be chatting with the biggest names from the world of sport, showbiz and royalty. We'll be debating the hottest topics and asking our guests to lock in their opinions on the roulette wheel. This week I'm joined by writer, broadcaster and former politician Edwina Currie. After spending an impressive 14 years as a Conservative MP, she went on to appear on several reality TV shows like Strictly Come Dancing and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, topics she'll be offering up an opinion on today. Edwina, it's fantastic to have you here in the studio.
My lord, it's an honour to meet you, it really is.
Now Edwina, you're no stranger to reality TV, and in recent years we've seen more and more politicians on our screens taking part in these types of shows, which can often be met with backlash. Do you think politicians have just as much right to appear on reality TV as much as other high-profile figures?
Well, you know, politicians are human beings. I know that's a little unusual to say or even to think, but I see no reason why not. And sometimes they're very talented human beings. We've often not seen any other side of them. I mean, you don't have to dance to get into Parliament. I mean, if you were going into Parliament, my lord, well, you can't because you're a lord, but if you were planning to go into the House of Commons, then you would need to talk. You don't need to learn to dance. And so they may have hidden abilities or hidden yearnings. I see no reason why they shouldn't be able to do all that, and it's very entertaining.
You were among some of the earlier politicians to be a reality contestant. Did you receive any backlash from that?
Well, I was the first Conservative MP to be on How I Got News for You. And I got a lot of backlash from that. Now, that's not a reality TV programme, that's kind of a jokey comment on the news, but it was seen as very infra-dig. I mean, we were supposed to be terribly serious people. And I'm a Scouser, I mean, I come from Liverpool, you know. It's very hard to be very serious when you've got my kind of background, you know, like. So I enjoyed doing all that kind of thing. I did it after I left Parliament. I didn't get involved in things like Strictly or The Jungle while I was a serving MP, and I'm not impressed with those who do.
Well, Matt Hancock was heavily criticised for going into the I'm a Celeb jungle last year, as he was still working as an MP. Do you think it's only right for ex-politicians to sign up for these shows?
Yes, I do, my lord. I think you put your finger on it exactly. Well, you're flipper. I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to insult you. But if you have a constituency to look after, you're talking about 80,000 people, and every week they're asking for help with this issue or that issue, maybe local issues, maybe personal issues, and every one of them you're supposed to be involved in. You can't be doing that if you're 30,000 miles away in the jungle, it seems to me, or spending 10 or 12 weeks learning how to dance in Strictly or some of the other programmes. So I think it's okay after you've left Parliament, but not okay while you're in it, because you've already got a job in there which you're being paid to do.
Even Ant and Dec have said they'd like to see politicians being given a rest on next year's I'm a Celeb. What do you make of that, and are you in agreement?
Well, next year's I'm a Celeb, there may be an awful lot of ex-politicians who are clamouring to go into the jungle to make some money and raise their profile for their next career. So I think they'll probably be pushed to say no to everybody. It depends who it is. It depends who it is. If it's somebody attractive and charming and they're offering enough money, I mean, you never know what ex-politician might be interested in saying yes.
You served in Margaret Thatcher's government. How do you think she'd come across as a reality contestant?
Oh, Mrs. T would have been a nightmare. A nightmare. I don't think she'd have done Strictly because she would have been too busy to do all the training. And she might have consented to go to the jungle in order to put across her point of view to 11 million people. And she would have talked and talked and talked and argued and talked and talked. And anyone tried to stop her, Lord Ping, she would have said, well, just wait a moment, I haven't quite finished. And I think there would have been ructions in the camp. I think she'd have driven everyone crazy.
It's now time to lock in your opinion on the roulette wheel. What do you think? Do politicians have as much right as other famous people to appear on reality TV? Is it red for yes or black for no?
I'm going to go red for yes.
So she's decided on red.
Let's see what it's done. That's black for no.
So the wheel disagrees with you, Edwina.
No. Oh dear.
It's now time for our second talking point, Edwina. Seeing politicians, be they current or former, in these reality environments is somewhat unusual for voters. Do you think taking part in reality shows can hinder their political career?
Oh, I think it depends on the individual and the circumstances as to whether they do well or do badly, and it depends what doing well or doing badly actually means. So, for example, somebody like Ed Balls doing Strictly, I think he did himself a lot of good, even though it was very funny. He showed that he was kind of a good sport, that sort of thing. And Anne Widdecombe as well. Do you remember Anne Widdecombe dressed up as a yellow chicken? I mean, it really was bizarre. It really was very strange. But she didn't do herself any harm. She showed herself to be a real-life human being, and I think that was helpful. When it comes to reality programmes where you are more likely to be humiliated, that's a different matter. So Big Brother was not a great place, for example, for George Galloway to be at any point. And I'm not sure that the jungle right now is a good place for Nigel Farage. I think it's a rather mixed blessing.
Do you think that the voting public enjoy seeing politicians, those in positions of power, put into these situations where they might be humiliated?
I think there is a whole stretch of the voting public who are natural sadists, who really would like to see somebody that they disapprove of, or whose views they disapprove of, being humiliated or hurt or put into an unpleasant or smelly situation, like in the jungle. There's something very exciting about that, which really drags them to the sofa and has them watching and voting. Otherwise, you can't explain why they would be putting in. Otherwise, you can't explain why they would be insisting that people like Nigel Farage do trials, for example. However, if the individual, if the former politician comes out with some style, some grace, some good manners, is shown to be helpful and part of the team, then the programme makers have got a natural positive outcome from that. And the viewers sometimes are a bit negative about it and they call it boring. Tell you what, my lord, you can't win with this. I recommend that if you are asked to go, you say no.
George Galloway pretending to be a cat lives in infamy, and it's now been confirmed that Celebrity Big Brother will be returning to our screens, a show which, by and large, hasn't had many politicians on it. Do you think it would be a good idea for someone involved in politics to appear on that show when it comes back?
I remember when Celebrity Big Brother was on, and my dear late husband, who had been a police officer for many years, he said to me, "If you go on that programme, Edwina, I'm going to divorce you." So I never had the choice. It's a pleasanter thing to do, as indeed is something like Love Island, because you're in much nicer circumstances. You've got, you can go for a swim, the food is okay, you're not being starved in any way. The jungle is much harder. The jungle is much, much harder. But Celebrity Big Brother, like all of these programmes, can make a reputation or can, in a few seconds, ruin it.
So what would you think if you were asked? Would you be tempted by Celebrity Big Brother?
I don't think I could be tempted by Celebrity Big Brother, just because, well, I'm not sure how I would get on these days. I could be tempted to go back into the jungle, but it would have to be business class on the plane and it cost them a lot of money. And one more thing, I'd have to be exempt from nearly all the trials on the grounds of my bad back.
Thanks, Edwina. It's now time to lock in your opinion on the roulette wheel. Does starring on reality TV hinder a political career? Is it red for yes or black for no?
I think on balance, red for yes. Let's see what the wheel thinks.
Well, she's locked in her answer and she's gone for red. Yes. Blimey, you've got quite the spinning technique.
Red for yes.
Wow, the wheel agrees with you, Edwina. We're now on to our third debate. I'm a Celebrity has seen a bit of a ratings slump this year, even though they paid big bucks for Nigel Farage. Do you think that the show may have had its day? Is it time to put it to bed?
Well, I think some of the comparisons are a bit unfair, to be honest, because during lockdown, we all watch programmes like I'm a Celeb and some of the others absolutely obsessively, nothing else to do. And I think the contrast is with that. Now everybody's going out. And that means that an evening programme like Strictly or like I'm a Celeb, then they're not essential any longer, and not that many people are going to watch them on catch-up. So I think some of the comparisons are unfair. That said, I'm a Celeb has been on now 21 years. That's a very, very long time for any kind of show, and especially with the same formula. So it could be that they need to rethink it. I tell you what I think, my lord. I thought this year that the games were too samey. They're all, going into a door and then finding that there's lots of things and you've got to find a star. They're lacking imagination. When I was in there, we had much more diverse pattern of games and you had to use your brain far more. So smart people had a chance of succeeding.
What do you make of that rumoured 1.5 million fee for Nigel Farage? Has he been worth it?
I don't think Nigel Farage has been worth the money. I really don't. And I think they're rather regretting that, because that's also left them having to scramble around a little bit for some of the other people. With the greatest respect, I had not heard of, I think, any of them. And I'm sure they're all very distinguished people, but they didn't quite have the pizzazz of some of the earlier people that we've seen on the show. So my reckoning is that they will think twice before offering that kind of sum of money to anybody again. Plus, they might also arrange the payments so that you get your money when you arrive, but only some of it, and you have to actually stay there to get the rest. That might concentrate some minds. It hasn't been the best series so far.
Do you think they need to change the kind of contestants they're bringing in? And what celebrity do you think would be a great addition to the show?
In some ways, the best contestants are people who are already really famous and perhaps are in the process of switching careers. That includes politicians, but it also includes sports people who have come to the point in their careers where they can't carry on before. I mean, the chap who won the year I was in I'm a Celebrity, for example, was Carl Foggy, who was, 7-time Superbike champion. But he'd had, in the end, one accident too many. He had scars all over his back and his shoulder. He no longer had the strength to compete at that level, and so he was looking to do something else. So a supremely successful personality who knew how to get on with people and knew how to win. I thought Frankie Dettori was a bit like that, but he was voted out first time, which I thought was a bit of a shame. I was looking forward to him teaching everybody how to ride a horse. I mean, you could imagine Sam riding on the back of Tony. That would have been very entertaining.
Is there anyone in particular who you'd like to see in the jungle?
Is there anyone in particular I'd love to see in the jungle who hasn't been in? My lord, you would be wonderful. I imagine you winning every Bush Tucker trial. I imagine you doing the zip wires and jumping out of the helicopter. I think you would be brilliant.
I can't say I've ever been tooted for I'm a Celeb before, but thank you. Anyway, it's now time to lock in your opinion on the roulette wheel. Do you think I'm a Celebrity has had its day? Is it red for yes or black for no?
Well, I would say probably no, so that's black for no. Okay, we're ready.
Well, she's gone for black.
Oh, that's come out as red.
Well, the I'm a Celeb show must go on, according to the wheel. We're now on to our fourth debate, and this time we're talking Strictly. Edwina, you appeared on the programme back in 2011, where you were first out. Every year there are conversations as to whether it's fair for people with substantial dance experience to compete against complete amateurs. What do you think?
Yeah, we was robbed. My partner was Vincent Simone, and he was really upset. He was in tears as the vote came that we were out. Me personally, I was, oh my God, thank God for that. Because 5 weeks of learning to dance every single day is physically, afterwards I could barely walk. My feet and my ankles were so sore. So I was quite glad to see an end to that, although I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. Now, there's a problem for Strictly producers, because if you only have people who can't dance, although that can create a wonderful narrative arc if they learn, the odds are they won't, in which case watching bad dancing is a pain. But if you start off with people who've had a bit of dance training, particularly say at stage school, so they may be natural hoofers, and they then become really good at it, there's a slight feeling that somebody is cheating here, even though they're not, because they're having to work just as hard to reach that high standard. So there's a balance to be achieved. I think from the public's point of view, the people that they really want to have win are the ones who couldn't dance to begin with, hence Bill Bailey. So they could keep to the beat, they learned how to do the steps, and they had wonderful personalities. There aren't that many people around. So it's a bit of a problem for anyone who's trying to book the talent to do a programme like that. But I mean, you would be a natural. You really would. You do it extremely well.
Did you feel at a disadvantage during your year on Strictly, having come from a non-dancing background?
I didn't feel at a disadvantage because I had no idea whether I could dance or not. I knew I had rhythm because I'd gone to the cavern when I was a kid and I loved music. And I had started doing a few dance lessons with my husband just to, give us something to do together that we could enjoy and keep us fit so we could manage a waltz. And I really wanted to learn things like the tango. I wanted to be, very Latin. And I thought I'd get the chance, especially when Vincent Simone became my partner. But really the only tango I ever learned was watching him doing it with other people. It's really, really hard show to take part in because you sign up to do training seriously. If you don't do the training, you could actually get hurt. You could fall over yourself and get hurt. People do all the time. And you have to look after yourself at the same time. It's very, very hard work. On the other hand, wearing those gorgeous dresses, oh, my Lord, this is not an opportunity that you will have. But every woman has it, and there's something very special about all that glitter. Oh yes, I love that.
Do you think that limits should be imposed as to how much dancing experience contestants should have?
I think in the end the producers are unwise to have people who are dancers as their contestants, because that's simply not fair on everybody else. On the other hand, I think it shows. It shows, and the public, once the public start to get an opportunity to vote for them, the public will tend to vote them out. So it's unwise. The best is somebody who loves music, has rhythm, doesn't mind what they look like Bill Bailey, brings real personality and charm, and learns to dance as well.
Recent winners like Hamza Yassin and Bill Bailey didn't have a lot of experience. Do you think the audience prefers to see winners who are learning a completely different skill?
I'm sure that in the 10 weeks or more that the show is on, in Strictly, the audience really want to see a story. They want to see what's called a narrative arc, where you start at one place but you end up in a different place. And if that different place is actually learning how to do the most fabulous dancing in wonderful sets with great music and gorgeous costume, and a bit of personality thrown in as well, then you've got a winner.
It's now time to see if the wheel agrees with you, Edwina. So time to lock in your opinion. Is it fair for celebs with dance experience to compete against complete amateurs on Strictly? Is it red for yes or black for no?
I think I'm going to go for red for yes, simply because they've entertained me so much over the years. So here we go.
You make a fair point there, Edwina.
Oh, we're on black. Black for no. There we go.
We're now on to our fifth and final debate. It's been rumoured that shows like Strictly have implemented bans on having reality stars competing on their programme. Do you think reality stars have as much right to take part as other public figures?
My general opinion is reality stars are people as well. And it may just be that that's the route they've chosen to get well known, whether it's Made in Chelsea or whether it's Love Island or First Dates or whatever. I really don't mind. There are lots of opportunities for people to become famous, as indeed Lord Ping you are now demonstrating. So they may be personalities of real interest. And can they learn to dance? That's a possibility. Might they learn to dance? We will find out. What are they like in the jungle? Now, the problem in the jungle, as I think Nella Rose has demonstrated, is that if you have earned all your living so far by making videos to a camera, you've not actually been interacting with anybody. And it can feel extremely strange, first of all, to be stuck in the jungle with no coffee, no phones, and real people, let alone no decent food. And quite a lot of real people, some of whom are really weird and who you wouldn't normally be mixing with whatsoever. And then you can find yourself in really quite a scary situation. That can feel horrible. And I think that's been demonstrated this year by Nella Rose, who normally wouldn't be within 100 miles of Nigel Farage and really didn't know how to handle him, I think, or how to persuade him to her point of view. It doesn't bother somebody like Nigel Farage because he's accustomed to meeting and talking with loads of people of different backgrounds and trying to be persuasive. So I think it puts the reality and social media people at a disadvantage. On the other hand, they're all human beings. Most of them went to school. We'll have to see how they get on when they're put under pressure. For the rest of us sitting there, it can be very entertaining indeed.
Love Island stars have been notably absent in lineups, despite former contestants often cropping up in other reality TV shows. Zara McDermott, who has gone on to make several documentaries as well, is the first Islander to appear on Strictly after being part of this year's cohort. Do you think we'll see more of them in the coming years?
I think the psychological pressure on people who have only done easy reality stuff, it can be much harder once you're actually in the pressure cooker that is Strictly. It really can, because you've got to do the training all the time. I mean, I've only watched bits of Love Island. It always feels slightly odd for me to be watching young people in their underclothes or in swimming costumes. I always feel I really shouldn't be doing that. But it's made in a beautiful place, Love Island. They've got wonderful sunshine, lovely food. They're lying around a lot of the time, being glamorous, just worried about their nails, you know. Whereas with Strictly, they're going to have to work really, really hard. With the jungle, they are going to have to cope with no food. And the hardship of that, I think their agents say to them, don't do it, don't do it. Will we see more of them in future? Yes, I think so. Why? Because a lot of young people who are keen to be in showbiz, they don't do the sensible thing like you and I do, Lord Ping. They're not just talking to each other as intelligent human beings. They like to be showing off. And that means that they're going to be on social media rather more than they're going to be on proper TV.
Producers are often keen to target younger audiences with their selection of contestants. Do you think this is a positive thing for the show in general, or do you think they run the risk of alienating older audiences?
I think producers sometimes underestimate the intelligence, the savviness of the older audience member. The people who are sitting on the sofa, average age I think is about 55. And by average I mean there's a lot more older than that and there's a few younger than that. And they're the ones who are sitting there with their fingers on the button and they're the ones who are voting. Right? So don't write them off. Don't ignore them. And the younger people are more likely to be watching on their phones or watching something on their phones. And that's a problem because they're not watching it for real and they're not tuning into some of the adverts. They're not likely to buy sofas, for example, are they? So that's a problem for the producers and the makers of these programs. I would say they worry too much. Just make a good program and people will roll in. Make something that has everybody saying to each other in the post office as they're collecting their pensions, did you see it last night? Wasn't it terrific? And that way you'll have your audience.
Thanks, Edwina. It's now time to lock in your opinion. Do you think there should be a ban on people who made their name on reality shows appearing on series like Strictly? Is it red for yes or black for no?
Well, I'm generally against bans, so I'm going to go to black for no. Let's see what the wheel thinks. Oh, it's red for yes. Oh my dear, that means Lord Ping you can't be on any of these because you're a star already.
You're making me blush, Edwina. It's been an absolute delight chatting to you today, and your thoughts on reality TV and politicians have been positively fascinating, giving me much food for thought.
Well, my lord, I have to say I agree with you on that entirely, and I look forward to seeing you on TV in the jungle next year, and maybe I can vote for you.
Maybe it's time for a winter I'm a Celeb, Edwina. Thank you very much for watching Red or Black. I'm Lord Ping, and I'll see you next time.